To opening statements now in a case that we have been following closely in Idaho. Lori Vallow Daybell, her trial set to begin at any moment now. The jury has been seated. Daybell is being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of her children, Tylee and JJ, in 2019. She also faces 3 counts of conspiracy charges. Daybell has pled not guilty to all of the charges. However, prosecutors are expected to lay out some key evidence that would ultimately convict the so-called doomsday mom. Jonna Spilbor is with us now. She's a criminal defense attorney and legal analyst. And Jonna, I'm going to talk to you about Daybell in a moment, but every one of us has a reaction to what we're seeing in Louisville. And I had a monitor of you up as I'm reading the breaking news this morning. And not to put you on the spot, but do you want to react to hearing this news? Because I know you had a reaction.
Yeah, and thank you, Marni. This is sad and it's tragic, and my thoughts and my prayers go out to all of the victims in Louisville. Can I be really honest with you? One of the thoughts that I had this morning while we're listening to that, aside from not again, is, you know, I'm a concealed carry permit holder, and very often I don't carry. And I'm saying to myself, what if there, you know, when you're a lawful gun owner, you have a chance to save lives when you have the privilege to carry a concealed weapon and you do so lawfully. And to not do that maybe is a disservice to the community at large. Because if I were in that bank or my mother was in that bank and I had an opportunity that I missed to save lives, it would compound the tragedy. This is a sad day, and thank you for allowing me to respond.
It is indeed, and thank you for giving me your thoughts on that. All right, to opening arguments in the Vallow trial, jurors at this point are going to hear 2 very different sides of who this woman is, her past, her behavior, correct?
Oh, yes. This case is so strange. It is so sad, and it is far from a slam dunk for either side. And I say that because the prosecution especially has a tragedy, has 2 dead children. But beyond that, Marni, they don't have a lot of direct evidence, if any. They don't have a cause of death. They don't have a murder weapon. There's a lot the prosecution doesn't have. And in addition to that, they've got a defendant who very well may be pointing the finger at her husband, or worse, at her brother, who is deceased. So he won't be able to testify and defend himself or point the finger at anybody else, obviously, which will really complicate this case even more than it already is.
And based on court documents, I mean, what do we know about the evidence that prosecutors will put forth in this case? What will the jury hear?
You know, I think the prosecution's going to have to focus on the odd doomsday cult relationship that Lori Daybell shared with her husband and many other people in her life. And circumstantially, the prosecution's going to have to point to, look, she's the mother of these 2 children. When they went missing, she didn't report it. She didn't act like a concerned mother. She wasn't, you know, pounding the pavement looking for her kids. Other family members were. What kind of mother would not search for her own children? And if you're the defense in this case, you've got to convince a jury, even though you're not obligated to put forth any evidence, you've got to answer that question in the mind of the jury. Why didn't Lori Daybell react differently when her children went missing? Because the real question is going to be, if it wasn't her, then who? And that's going to be an uphill climb, I think, for the defense in this case.
Talk a little bit about her appearance. I mean, in video and in still photographs that we've seen, she doesn't look like a typical defendant, a person who's been charged with murdering her 2 children. I don't know what that person would look like, but she shows up with her hair done. She's got red lipstick on. People have made note of that. How does the jury perceive a defendant like that?
They probably want to see somebody who looks contrite, who looks upset, who looks, frankly, innocent of killing her 2 children. And it's interesting because Lori Daybell's history, if you watch any of the documentaries, which the jury will not have watched, I doubt they would get picked if they did, she kind of lived her life trying to, not con, but just trying to let her personality rule the day. And she's not changing that, apparently, inside this courtroom.
All right, Jonna Spilbor, as always, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.